Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This is ResearchRoadshow.com. Today is January 13th, 2023. My name is John Wilkins, and we are going to continue with part 3 of the Eugene Yu trial and why that trial is so important to understanding the dynamics of certain things that are going on in our government, especially the federal government of the United States. If you've subscribed to this channel, you know that we believe that the Eugene Yu trial is very important. And in fact, at the beginning of November, 7 Ospreys flew out to Los Angeles so that they could be in the Los Angeles Superior Court building to participate, to witness the hearings and trial of Mr. Eugene Yu, former CEO of Konnech. In this part, I'm going to explain why, if your big issue is organ harvesting, I'm talking about the illegal and quasi-legal harvesting of hearts, kidneys, pancreas, and other human organs. If that is your top issue, then this trial should become very important to you, and you should do everything that you can possibly do to understand exactly how this trial is moving along, who the players are, and the forces, what George Webb would call the dark hand behind either side of the trial. Let's take a discrete example of what organ harvesting is. Okay. Now, many of you have seen, you have heard, you've known people who have had a heart transplant or a liver transplant or a kidney transplant. It's not too uncommon in the United States. But what is not very well known is how many of those organs were obtained quasi-legally or even legally. Now here we have, I believe this young man finds himself in India or in Egypt. I'm not sure which of the two because I pulled the various pictures. Here is a young man who has had a kidney removed, and it was done rather hastily. And you can see by the aesthetics of the scar that's left. I know this is just after the surgery, but you can already see that the surgeon did not take great care in the aesthetics of the operation on the skin itself, right? We don't know underneath how well the job was done, but in any case, you get the picture. Now, what many young men have claimed is that, and I know from talking to my friends in the Italian military who've been in war zones, that very often after a conflict, or as a conflict starts to wind down, the survivors, many of the survivors, if they're relatively young, depending on the organ, and healthy and don't smoke, they are offered a certain amount of money in exchange for one of their kidneys. And this is it's not a simple, it's not a simple request. The person donating the organ has to be aware that they are what the transaction entails. Losing a kidney has a number of significant risks that go along with it. So exchanging your kidney for $700 or $800, the equivalent of $700 or $800, it means you are in dire straits. You are really hard up for money, and you're risking either a jail sentence, your severe penalty of some form, or you need that $800 to get your best friend out of jail, or to pay off a family debt. You are really desperate to have that $800. But the question is, the big question is, why are so many people in this situation? You remember in the UK, after the Second War, there was a lot of damage. A lot of people were left homeless. But in the UK, you did not have, well, I guess they didn't have the transplant technology at the time, right? So that's not comparing apples to apples. But even if we had at that time in 1946, 47, the technology and the procedures in place, I don't think a whole lot of people would have been forced into the situation where they had to give up a kidney in order to get by. Okay. Where am I going with this? Well, the organ harvesting business, if you look at Wikipedia or another mainline source, it will tell you that there are roughly 83,000 kidney transplants done every year worldwide. That's not possibly true. It has to be well over 500,000, given the number of people just in Egypt and just in India alone who are missing a kidney. Just those two countries alone. Go around and ask how many young men are missing a kidney. The number has to be much greater than 83,000 per year, right? And we've heard stories in China. I have no direct proof of this, but I've heard that many prisoners in China, for example, the Uyghurs, they are also missing on kidneys, and they probably didn't get the $800. And in some cases, they might not have even had the choice. Maybe they went in for a stubbed toe and they just came out missing a kidney. Things happen. So first of all, it's important that you cannot believe the official statistics coming out of the United Nations or the U.S. government when they tell you how many organs have been transplanted in the United States at hospitals in the United States. We have to demand the actual data, and we have to start to see. Like I talked to one former RN from a major clinic in New York City, and he told me that he quit his job as an RN because he worked in the cardiac transplant unit, and the paperwork there was very often something wrong with the paperwork. The what would you call it? The pedigree of the organ was not up to snuff. And he could never prove, it would take way too much work for him to prove that the organ was harvested illegally. But he knew something wasn't quite right, and his conscience did not let him continue to provide those services for that hospital. So we have to start to demand with a very loud voice that the powers that be start to give us the truth, that they start to provide accurate data on how many transplants are being performed each year, and especially when it comes to infants. If you have an infant under 1 year of age, or even less than 3 months of age, and that infant needs a new heart, where are you going to get a new heart for a 3-month-old infant or younger? Okay, for example, a preemie, a baby girl, a baby boy born after just 7 months? Where are you going to get that defective, the replacement heart? Could Planned Parenthood have anything to do with it? It's your job. If you're serious about stopping either Planned Parenthood or reducing the number of illegal organs harvested, you have to dig. You have to go and ask some difficult questions. Is it possible that a wealthy individual in some other part of the world just writes $1 million check to the McCain Foundation or the Clinton Foundation, and then magically the new heart, the replacement heart for your premature infant just magically appears? Getting this information is going to require risk. It's going to require that certain individuals with the power, with the ability to know, that have access to the answers, maybe have worked at some of these clinics, step out of their safety, their comfort zone, risk maybe even their lives, and get that data out there. And we have to know. Why is the Eugene Yu trial so important? Well, let's back up for a second. We also know, and this is a stern warning to the parents of new drivers or drivers under the age of 25. When I was renewing my driver's license in Italy in 1996, I was asked 4 times, Signor Wilkins, ha dimenticato di dietro? They wanted me to sign the back of the license stating whether or not I wanted, in the case of an accident, of a mortal accident, if I wanted my organs donated. For example, the cornea, the vital organs. And 4 times I declined on religious grounds, but I didn't understand why they were pressuring me. How come I had to be asked 4 times if I wanted to donate an organ? Well, what was going on at the same time? Wasn't there a conflict in the former Yugoslavia where lots of people were being mutilated and dying? I think that the whole, and we know, I have a good friend Alberto Musi, who paid with his life for investigating illegal organ transplants or surgeries done at the largest hospital in Turin with organs coming across the border from the former Yugoslavia. They were trying to mask by getting young drivers, or getting drivers in general, to donate their organs. They can kind of, make ends meet when it comes to the paperwork, right, for the organs coming across the border from the war zone. So this is a business where everybody kind of knows it's going on, but nobody has the guts to really dig in and get to the people who have the direct knowledge, except for Alberto Musi. Okay. We have to have the courage to attack some of these problems head on, even if it means risking your reputation, people in your family getting very upset with you, etc. There is no improvement without risk. No pain, no gain. Why is the Eugene Yu trial important to any of this? Because we know that there is a connection between LJ Connections that became Konnech and many top-tier biological laboratories. Okay. 4 episodes ago, we showed the connection between Donna Wang and Charles Lieber of Harvard. We know that every entity surrounding Konnech is either a life sciences firm, a computational biology firm, a virology firm, a therapeutics firm. At least 70 firms in the therapeutics, beginning with Genzyme, it's circumstantial evidence for now. But Konnech is completely surrounded, literally, in the case of Genzyme, on that island in San Francisco. It's literally surrounded by Genzyme facilities. We have to do the hard work to show that behind SCYTL and Konnech, there's the medical wing of Blackrock. And they are facilitating the data. They are promising their investors the gains on the data that will be gained from these transplants, from looking at how well patients with a transplanted heart or kidney react to different drugs. The transplant business is partly to cover the demand, because people get in accidents, they need an organ. But the other side of the coin, the other reason that the transplant business is doing so well is because of the data generated post-surgery. It's tons of valuable data for companies like Amgen and Novartis, and above all, Merck. Watch out for Merck. This is why we feel that the trial of Eugene Yu is so important, because then you're beginning to expose, it's not just about the name, address, and phone number of a few thousand poll workers that's going across to China. It's about something much, much, much deeper. And part of the Osprey mission is getting to that. What is the actual raison d'être, reason for being for Konnech, formerly LJ Connections? And why is it that Lionel Nee doesn't show up anywhere now? When you do a Google search or Bing, you can't find Lionel Nee anywhere. At the beginning of October, when Harry the Greek started out, it was fairly simple to find information about Lionel Nee. Now, 2 months, almost 3 months later, it's very, very, very hard. Lionel Nee comes up with very well articulated searches. You can find something, but it's getting harder and harder. So I personally think that Lionel Nee is an even bigger character, more significant character in this whole story than is Eugene Yu. The trial itself, the transcripts, which Harry the Greek has paid thousands of dollars for. So please donate to Harry on his new site, which I think is called Donate Box. I'll put that in the comments towards the end of the show. But Harry has finally, after waiting 3 or 4 or 6 weeks for each one, he's obtained these transcripts, and there is tons of metadata in each transcript. Above all, what they don't say, what the questions that the court doesn't ask, and the hemming and hawing of the prosecuting attorney or the defense. There are tons of metadata in these transcripts, but it requires a team of individuals. I hope to assemble a team of at least 30 people to go through these transcripts and outline for other researchers where are the points from a legal standpoint that we need to push on, that we need to do more research on, and then write down a list of questions and take those questions to the DA's office and ask, this is not according to protocol. what is going on with this particular answer to this particular question. We have to take the low-hanging fruit that they're giving us. We have to push on those buttons where we can see an inconsistency and force them to say there are powers at work that you little people don't understand. Please just go about your business or we'll come back to you later. We have to really keep the pressure on. So please, if organ harvesting is your big issue, please, first of all, write to me a list of your questions. If something I said is not clear, or if I need to provide supporting evidence for what I'm saying, write me a reply email, ask me to, force me to do my homework and get me to reply to you in an adequate fashion. Then please participate in our Zoom meetings, especially those upcoming that will be dedicated to SCYTL and Paragon and Blackrock, and add whatever you can to the discussion so that we can go to the libraries, we can get the request from our local librarian, the information, the microfiche and the microfilms that we need to write for our congressman a white paper that explains to the congressman everything that we're saying in a very concise format, so that the congressperson can't just say, "Oh, it's too complex and I don't have time." We take away the congressperson's excuse and we give them this 4-pager that says, this is wrong, this has to be explained. And we need, in order to reduce the total number of the traffic in illegal organs, we need to have these points addressed, because historically speaking, the medical community, the medical data community has a lot of explaining to do. Okay. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Thank you very much for participating tonight, and please write to me your question. Oh, I want to bring up one more graphic, and then we'll call it a night. It's important for us to launch truth bombs wherever we can. Okay, so I've created a little meme here. Yesterday and the day before, we talked about the thermobaric bombs being launched in the Ukraine. But I want to take a variant of that. Since that's stuck in the minds of most people now, I want to take a variant of that and share what I call the thermobaric truth bomb, the mobstermobaric. The mobstermobaric truth bomb. These are important. The mobstermobaric truth bomb is taking something apparently small and insignificant at first glance, but when you launch it, kind of like a pebble in the pond, when you launch it, it generates a lot of questions in that particular community. Now, a discrete example is me going up to a group of people in Lorain County, a former Tea Party group in Lorain County, Ohio. And since many of them are huge fans of Steve Bannon, I will point out to them that when you look for Eugene Yu or Lionel Nee on warroom.org, you get 0 results. How is that? You know, they're always shouting in the war room. You always hear about China, China, China. Here we have a known Chinese spy, possibly two. I'm not sure if Lionel Nee is classified by the FBI as a spy, but I know Eugene Yu is. We have a known Chinese spy, and the warroom.org makes no mention of it. How is that possible? How is that possible? If Steve Bannon is the champion of the former Tea Party, how is it possible that warroom.org does not mention Eugene Yu or Lionel Nee or anything about this case, especially Blackrock? Those little truth bombs help to create the required cognitive dissonance, and they start to say, wait a minute. Well, holy mackerel, maybe is Steve Bannon on our side or not? And what about the Patriot Act? Maybe the Patriot Act is worse than we thought. Who thought up the Patriot Act? Where did the Patriot Act actually come from? And are any of these biologists in the Konnech SCYTL Blackrock group also responsible for the Patriot Act? Could the Patriot Act actually be the work of top biologists like Charles Lieber, or the guys who put Charles Lieber into power? Those are the kinds of things that the mobster Mubarak truth bomb serves. That's the purpose for them. Okay, everybody, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Hopefully I'll be on time tomorrow. And tomorrow at noon, Saturday the 14th, at noon, we have the George Webb Video Watch Party. And at 1 o'clock Eastern, we have Judith Very Baker explaining SARS and MERS to us, and a little bit of the history of that field in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.